Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into how AI is doing something much bigger than just changing our tools. It's actually revolutionizing the way we learn. We're moving from just soaking up information to actively creating knowledge with these incredibly smart machines. So let's start with a feeling I'm sure we've all had. You spend hours, maybe all night, staring at a textbook, highlighting everything, and then the next day, it's just gone, vanished from your brain. It's super frustrating, right? Well, it turns out there's a really good reason for it. And that reason pretty much always comes down to this big difference. Over on one side, you've got passive learning, just letting information wash over you like watching a lecture. But on the other side, you've got active learning. That's where you have to really grapple with the material, you have to question it, and you have to try and explain it. And all the research is crystal clear. That's where the real deep understanding happens. But trying to master active learning all by yourself is, well, it's tough. It takes the skill that educators call self-regulated learning. Think of it like being your own personal learning coach. It's that ability to stop and ask yourself, wait, what part of this do I not get? What's the best way to figure it out? And hey, did that actually work? It's an absolutely crucial skill, but it's really, really hard to build up on your own. So how do we build that skill? Well, a really powerful answer actually comes from one of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century, a guy who was just as famous for his teaching as he was for his Nobel Prize-winning physics. Richard Feynman's technique is so simple, it's brilliant, but it is incredibly powerful. The core idea is this: if you really want to know something, you have to be able to teach it. The act of trying to explain a complex idea in simple terms forces you to find the holes in your own understanding. It's pretty much active learning at its absolute best. There's just one tiny problem. The Feynman technique needs a partner. You need someone to teach, someone who can ask you good questions. And if you're studying by yourself, that's a huge hurdle. Or at least it used to be. Okay, so let's get into the really cool stuff. Researchers at the Singapore University of Technology and Design have built an AI they call the Feynman bot, and its entire job is to be your personal, tireless, and infinitely curious study buddy. So this diagram here kind of shows us what's going on under the hood. You start by feeding it your notes, or maybe a chapter from a textbook. Then, the system uses what's called a large language model. That's the AI brain that's amazing at understanding and talking like a human, to process all that info. And from there, it starts a conversation with you, pretending to be a curious student who's trying to get it. Now, this is what I think is so fascinating, seeing the bot actually in action. Check out this conversation about a philosophy topic. The student gives an explanation, and the bot comes back with, "Great explanation. Could you link this back to the utilitarian logic?" You see, it's not just checking for facts or keywords, it's pushing you to connect the dots and think on a much deeper level. But the big question is, does it actually work? Well, in a study, researchers split students into two groups. One group just used the normal passive methods, like rereading their notes. The other group got to use the Feynman bot, and the results, whoa, they were dramatic. The bot users had a learning gain of 3.83 points, which just blew away the 2.17 from the passive learners. And here's the really important part. This wasn't just about memorizing stuff. On the final test, the students who just studied passively gave these short, kind of basic answers. But the Feynman bot users, they gave answers like the one you see here, way more detailed, nuanced, and they even brought in their own examples without being asked. They didn't just know the information, they actually understood. The difference wasn't just in their grades either. Get this, 100% of the bot users said they felt more comfortable with the subject after using it, and a huge majority, we're talking 86%, said they liked it way better than just passively studying and would definitely use the bot again. So this isn't just a learning tool, it's a huge confidence boost. Tools like the Feynman bot are a sign of a massive shift that's happening. This isn't just a new gadget to study with. It's making us completely rethink the whole point of education. I mean, if an AI can remember any fact for us instantly, what are we supposed to be learning? For more than 60 years, educators have relied on this framework called Bloom's taxonomy. It's basically a pyramid of learning skills. It starts with simple stuff like remembering facts at the bottom and goes all the way up to creating something totally new at the top. It's been the go-to guide for how to teach and learn. But in the age of AI, that old map needs a serious update. A new report from a group called Anthology argues that we need to reframe these levels. For instance, remembering isn't about memorization anymore. It's about curating and questioning, which is exactly what the Feynman bot trains you to do. And creating becomes co-creating, learning to partner with AI. The entire focus is shifting from what you know to how well you can think, question, and validate information. Now, this new map doesn't just shuffle around the old ideas, it adds a brand new destination right at the very top, something that goes way beyond just, finishing a project for a class. So in this new model, the ultimate goal isn't just to make something, it's to use what you know to drive real, actual change out there in the world. The very top of the learning pyramid becomes about making an impact. And this highest level has a name: transform. This is the point where learners are no longer just students. They become agents of change. They're using their knowledge, supercharged by AI, to go out and tackle real-world problems and make a difference far beyond the classroom walls. So, as tools like the Feynman bot start to handle the lower levels of learning for us, the remembering, the understanding, we're freed up to focus on what really matters, the very top of that pyramid. And that leaves us with a much bigger and, frankly, a much more exciting question to answer. It's no longer just about what you can create, but what you will choose to change.